class, today we're going to be talking about our teeth and going to the dentist. How many of you have gone to the dentist? Oh, a good number of you. Why do you think we go to the dentist? Let's write some things down. Why do you think we go to the dentist? We go to the dentist because some of us can get what? Cavities. Good job. Now, how do we get cavities? Because we eat a lot of candy, and candy has sugar. You're absolutely right. Now, but why do we really go to the dentist? Well, to stay healthy. You're absolutely correct. Now, do you think humans are only people that go to the dentist, or do you think somebody else goes to the dentist too? What about animals? I know you guys are hesitating a little bit, but today our book is about animals going to the dentist. Well, a particular animal going to the dentist. What we're going to do is we're going to write some words down that you think we can use later on for our group projects, okay? And our group activities. So, what other words do you think? Dentist, that's a good word. And who is it that goes to the dentist? Patients, you're right. We'll just add a few more words as we're going, okay? Do you think it's easy or difficult, or is it dangerous to go to the dentist? Dangerous, right? Let's add that. So there we go. Now, our book is about Dr. DeSoto. It's by William Steig. And what do you think is happening here? Dr. DeSoto's a mouse. You're absolutely right. And his patient is a fox. It's a little bit scary because I think fox like mice. But let's see what's going on. I'm going to be reading and then I'll show you the pictures, okay? But let's see what's going on here. Dr. DeSoto is treating another mice. Okay, so let's start our book. Dr. DeSoto, the dentist, did very good work. So he had no end of patients. That's one of our words. Those close to his own size, moles, chipmunks, etc., sat on the regular dentist seat chair. Large animals sat on the floor while Dr. DeSoto stood on the ladder. So large animals like this pig sits on the floor and Dr. DeSoto climbs up the ladder, but smaller animals sit on the chair. For extra large animals, he had a special room. There, Dr. DeSoto was hoisted up to the patient's mouth by his assistant, who also happened to be his wife. Now, do you guys know what the word hoisted means? How about we add hoisted to our list? Okay? Hoisted means to be lifted up. You're absolutely correct. Okay, so this is a special room for his large animals, and that's his wife, who's also his assistant. Now, you see she's hoisting him up, lifting him up so he can get into the mouth of the other animals, the large animals. Dr. DeSoto was especially popular with big animals. He was able to work inside their mouth wearing rubbers to keep his feet dry, and his fingers were so delicate, his drills so dainty, they could hardly feel any pain. He's so small, and his patients are so big, the larger ones at least. They feel no pain because he's so small and he works like tick, 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 tick. However, being a mouse, he refused to treat animals dangerous to mice, and it said on his sign, when the doorbell rang, he and his wife would look out the window. They wouldn't admit even the most timid-looking cat. So that's his wife and him. They look out the window anytime they see anybody who rings the bell to see if they belong there or not. And they have a sign, Dr. DeSoto, dentist. Cats and other dangerous animals not accepted for treatment. They don't accept animals that like to eat mice. One day when they looked out, they saw a well-dressed fox with a flannel bandage around his jaw. "I cannot treat you, sir," Dr. DeSoto shouted. "Sir, haven't you read my sign?" So there's that fox we saw in the beginning of our book. He is in pain. Look at him. He has a flannel bandage, but Dr. DeSoto said, "No, I can't treat you." "Please," the fox wailed, "have mercy, I'm suffering." He wept so bitterly it was pitiful to see. Let's risk it," said Mrs. DeSoto. She pressed the buzzer and let the fox in. That's a little bit scary, you guys. They don't take animals that like mice. But the fox, he's crying, and Dr. DeSoto and his wife felt really bad, so they took him in. He was up the stairs in a flash. "Bless your little hearts," he cried, falling to his knees. "I beg you, do something. My tooth is killing me." "Sit on the floor, sir," Dr. DeSoto said, "and remove that bandage, please." So he's crying, but he's saying, thank you for taking me." And Dr. DeSoto, do you guys see what he's doing here? He's washing his hands before he goes into the mouth of the fox, because he needs to keep himself clean. He's a doctor. Everybody should always wash their hands. Dr. DeSoto climbed up the ladder and bravely entered the fox's mouth. "Oh, wow," he gasped. The fox had a rotten bicuspid and unusually bad breath. This tooth will have to come out," Dr. DeSoto announced, "but we have to make you a new one." "Just stop the pain," whispered the fox, wiping some tears away. Despite his misery, you guys know what the word misery means? Misery. To be miserable, correct. How about we add that to our list? Misery. And see if we can use it later. "And just stop the pain," whimpered the fox, wiping some tears away. Despite his misery, he realized he had a thirsty little morsel in his mouth, and his jaw began to quiver. "Keep open," yelled Dr. DeSoto. "Wide open," yelled his wife. "Uh-oh, he's getting a taste for the mice." "I'm giving you gas now," said Dr. DeSoto. "You won't feel a thing when I yank that tooth." Soon the fox was in dreamland. Yummy," he mumbled. "How I love them raw, with just a pinch of salt and a dry white wine." I think he's dreaming about eating the mice. They could guess what he was dreaming about. About about Mrs. DeSoto handed her husband a pole to keep the fox's mouth open. Dr. DeSoto fastened his extractor to the bad tooth. Then he and his wife began turning the winch. Finally, with a sucking sound, and the tooth popped out and hung swinging in the air. "Look, the tooth is swinging in the air," and they just pulled it out with a little bit of blood. Ugh. "I'm bleeding," the fox yelled. When he came to, Dr. DeSoto ran up the ladder and stuffed some gauze in the hole. "The worst is over," he said. "I'll have your new tooth ready tomorrow. Be here at 11 sharp." The fox, still woozy, said goodbye and left. On his way home, he wondered if it would be shabby of him to eat Dr. DeSoto when the job was done. He wants to eat him and his wife. Oh no. After office hours, Mrs. DeSoto molded a tooth out of pure gold and polished it raw with salt. "Indeed. Raw with salt, indeed," muttered Dr. DeSoto. "How foolish to trust a fox." "He didn't know what he was saying," said Mrs. DeSoto. "Why should he harm us? We're helping him." "Because he's a fox," said Dr. DeSoto. "They're wicked, wicked creatures." What do you think wicked means? What else do you see or do you know is wicked? A witch, you're right. That night, DeSoto's lay awake worrying. "Should we let him in tomorrow?" Mrs. DeSoto wondered. "Once I started a job," the dentist firmly said, "I'd finish it. My father was the same way," Dr. DeSoto said. "But we must do something to protect ourselves," said his wife. They talked and talked until they found a plan. "I think it will work," said Dr. DeSoto. A minute later, they were snoring. "I think they have a plan." The next morning, promptly at 11, a very cheerful fox returned up. He was feeling not a particle of pain. When Dr. DeSoto got into his mouth, he snapped it shut for a moment, then opened it wide and laughed. "Just a joke," he chortled. He was trying to scare the doctor. "Be serious," said the dentist sharply. "We have work to do." His wife was lugging the heavy tooth up the ladder. "Oh, I love it," exclaimed the Fox, it's just beautiful. Dr. DeSoto set the gold tooth in the socket and hooked it up to the tooth on both sides. The fox caressed the new tooth with his tongue. My, it feels good, he thought. I really shouldn't eat them. On the other hand, how can I resist? We're not finished, Dr. DeSoto said, holding up a large jug. I have here a remarkable preparation developed only recently by my wife and me. With just one application, you can get rid of toothaches forever. How would you like to be the first one to receive this unique treatment? I certainly would, the fox declared. I'd be honored. He hated any kind of personal pain. You will never have to see us again, said Dr. DeSoto. No one will see you again, said the fox to himself. Can you believe it? He had definitely made up his mind to eat them with the help of his brand new tooth. Dr. DeSoto stepped into the fox's mouth with a bucket of secret formula, proceeded to paint each tooth. He hummed as he worked. Mrs. DeSoto stood up by the ladder, pointing out spots that he had missed. The fox looked very happy. When the dentist was done, he stepped down. Now close your jaw tight, he said, and keep them closed for a full minute. The fox did as he was told. Then he tried to open his mouth, but teeth were stuck together. They were stuck together. Oh, excuse me, I should have mentioned, said Dr. DeSoto. You won't be able to open your mouth for a day or two. The secret formula must be permanent dentine. But don't worry, no pain ever again. The fox was stunned. He stared at Dr. DeSoto, then at his wife. They smiled and waited. All he could do say was, "Thank you very much," through his clenched teeth, and got up and left. He tried to do so with dignity. Then he stumbled down the stairs in daze. Dr. DeSoto and his assistant had outfoxed the fox. They kissed each other and took the rest of the day off. How smart were Dr. DeSoto and his wife. Now, we'll be working on a few activities. It will be group activity. I will set you guys into 4, okay? And some of you will be getting activities that are a little more difficult than the others. However, if you choose to take the other activity, you're more than welcome to, and I am here to assist you. First activity some of you will be getting is this chart. What food are good for your teeth and what for teeth? How about let's give an example of one of each that's not on your worksheet. What do you think one food that's good for your teeth? Celery? Ew, not everybody likes celery, but that's good for your teeth. What about spinach? Any greens are always good for your teeth. What do you think is bad for your teeth? Ice cream, yes. Chocolate, candy, you're absolutely right. The next assignment some of you will be getting is, what do you think Dr. DeSoto and his wife could have done? What other things they could have done to help them solve their problem? Just tell me. How about write it down, or you can draw other ways the doctor could have gotten over his fear of the fox, right? Okay. What about writing about or drawing, what kind of seats do you think elephants sit in? Or a flea, or a spider? What do you think they have seats? What kind of seats they have that Dr. DeSoto might have used for these animals? Why don't you guys be creative and draw whatever you think you would like? I would also really want you guys to take out your journals and write a paragraph. Doesn't matter what you want to write, but I want you to write an experience you guys had at the dentist. And do you think you have any experience that's similar to the fox and Dr. DeSoto? How about being in pain at the dentist, okay? I want you to be able to write something, but I also want, this is a little tricky, I want you guys to use the words we have written earlier, our key terms, okay? And if you don't want to write it, you can always draw it. You can draw things that you can utilize those key terms in, okay? And lastly, I want you to draw a scene from the book that best describes this book, alright, you guys? This will be so much fun. Great.